Okay, moving on, let's come down and do the rest of this. Now, so we're going quite well, I think. I might still do a little bit of work around here, maybe take away some of that, but we can work on that later. Let's just carry on and get all of this done here. Right, I'm going to mix up this lovely colour here. I'm going to take some white and a little magenta. You can see there's a lot of pink in that, isn't there? You could even start with white and magenta for now. Let me have a look. Okay, a touch of blue, touch of phthalo blue. And you can see the phthalo blue, it just makes it lovely and rich, doesn't it? It has this lovely luminous, bright, rich colour. If you were using cobalt blue for this, it would be very washed out and you wouldn't get these very rich, vibrant colours. I'm going to go with a little more magenta. I'm thinking perhaps a little hint of cadmium red. I think it just needs to warm it slightly, a little more on the warm side, if you know what I mean. So I think, yeah, that's a bit better, I think. Now let's go right up here under this. This is all kind of dried in slightly, by the way. I'm going to go around this kind of crest here, and it comes down and around, doesn't it, like that. Now a little turpentine just to keep this nice and not, I won't say keep it wet, but just keep the paint moving nicely, if you know what I mean. Down around here like this, block that all in with this lovely pinky colour. Over here, as it comes down now, it gets very dark, doesn't it? So let's take some phthalo blue, some magenta, and then some black, rich black. Now we want lots of magenta in this with the black. That'll keep it that nice warm sort of blacky pinky colour. You see the way that's nice and kind of a blacky pink down here, low down. Now that's still a bit cold. A bit more magenta. And we could try a little hint of crimson as well. That would give us that nice warm colour as well. So let's try that first. We'll go with that first. We can add to this as we need. I'm going to soften that upwards like that. Okay, and I'm going to go really pinky black now this time. Lots of magenta, lots of crimson, and a hint of black. Soften that out. I can see there's a lot of kind of magenta and crimson sort of just around here. There's a bit of red kind of popping into it just here and there. So let's soften that in just there. Okay, like that. Already it's starting to take shape, isn't it? Now, I'll clean that brush very quickly, and I want to put a very warm colour around here, because in around here there's a very warm colour, isn't there? So I'm going to take some cadmium red and a little crimson, and I'm going to just pop that very warm. In fact, I'll take some magenta as well, maybe with a hint of white, okay? There's a very nice warm sort of a pinky hue just coming into it there. You see that? Lovely colour. Nice and pink. You can see the way I'm just kind of softening little touches of this in here and there as I go along. You see a little bit down there. Pop a little bit in down here. And this all really adds to the depth. It really kind of pushes everything off, doesn't it? I'm going to go with some black and some phthalo blue, and then some crimson. And I'm going to pop that very rich colour. I think more crimson and phthalo, very dark purpley colour. I'm going to pop that in over here, just soften it up very slightly, okay? I'm going to take more magenta, more crimson into that. Mixing it on the canvas, you see? Now, also, I'm going to take magenta with some burnt umber. Oh, sorry, crimson with some burnt umber. I'm going to pop that very dark colour in, very reddy brown colour in, just along here, okay? So now we've that very rich dark colour. Now I know on camera that looks like there's a very strong divide between the two of them. I'm going to take some phthalo blue and crimson with a little white, okay? And I'm just going to pop. Now I'm using a lot of thick paint here, you see? Lots of thick paint. And I'm going to, in fact, I'll take some cadmium red. I'm going to just soften a little bit of that just where they meet, okay? Just want to soften it in, just get them kind of nice and soft together. I'll take some cadmium red and some white, lovely pinky colour, little crimson. Again, I'm going to pop some of that colour in there. Now that's the colour I was looking for all the time. There, that's better. Cadmium red with some crimson, softening it across and down. Now that's a bit better, isn't it? Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is take my soft brush and I'm going to pull that down. Just like that. That gives you a nice impression of reflection, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm thinking now I should move on to my small flat brush. I want to just sort out this wave along here. I must get some magenta on my palette. And I'm going to dampen my brush just to dry it then, make it nice and damp, not too damp. I'm going to take a little of that light pink and I am just going to go along the top of that wave just there, and I'm going to create almost like little ripples coming along in this reflection here. Okay? Go along like that and soften it across with your finger. And then I'm going to take a little phthalo blue into that with some white. And I just want to create just a few little gentle ripples kind of creeping into the light area down here, okay? You see what I mean? And that just kind of breaks it up then. It just breaks it up ever so slightly. Okay. Now I'm going to go with some very dark colour. I'm getting some phthalo blue with lots of magenta. And with that dark colour now, I'm just going to go over my wave. Just again, you see that dark part of the wave just there. I'm going to go over that again. And then I'm going to start working that out into that light section behind, you see it? Or just in front of it, you see that? I'm just going to start working it down into that and give these a little bit of shadow as well. Just creating a little shadow. Now we have a lovely one as well, coming out like that and comes around like that, doesn't it? And when I'm doing this, I'm keeping my brush horizontal all the time, all right? You see, I'm wiggling my brush side to side, keeping it horizontal. All the time. And that's just starting to create a little bit of interest down here, isn't it? Okay, now again, let's go along here, bring this out and around. Next, I'm going to just fill in all of this area. I'm going to make a nice mix for this area now, okay? Actually, before I do that, come to think of it now, I just want to add a slightly light colour to the top of these, just here and there, okay? Just want to help soften that back in and lighten it slightly, because I think it's just a little bit on the dark side, isn't it? Just ever so slightly. Okay. Now, I'll come down here and fill this in. I'm going to mix a nice colour for that. Some magenta. Now, plenty of turpentine in this. Make it flow nicely. Magenta. Some phthalo blue. I'm going to go with a little cadmium red as well. Bit more blue. So we get this very rich dark plummy hue. You see that? Nice rich dark colour. Now you can see how watery that is, okay? I'm making it very thin just to begin with. That way I can add colours to this then as I need. Nice thick colours on top of this then. Now I'm going to go around this like that. Come down. Fill that in. It's just a case really of wiggling your brush as you're coming around those bends and those curves. Just give your brush a good wiggle. Don't be afraid. A good wiggle of the brush does no harm at all. Comes down like that. Fill this in here. I think this is going to look quite nice when it's finished. There we go. Okay, now let's just sit back for a moment, take a look at that. Now, while you have that colour, it's quite a nice colour. I'm going to bring that colour slightly up into that section above it, okay? Because they're kind of almost completely different colours. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this pinky purple colour in up here as well. Just to help the kind of transition from one side to the other, okay? Pop a little bit of it here and there, look. Just dragging my brush across. Now, I want to start adding some lighter colours into this and some darker colours. I'll go with the darker colours first. I'm going to take some black. Now, this may look very, very black on camera, okay? But I'll show you it's a very blacky, pinky, purpley kind of a colour, okay? Blacky purple, let's say. Magenta, black, and some phaylo blue. Let me just take a look at this now first. Okay, a bit more blue. And I'm going to start with this area here. I'm going to darken that, okay? You see the way that gets nice and dark there. Then I'm going to come around down onto this like that. And it's quite wet, okay? My colours are very wet now at the moment. I'm going to pop some of that darker colour in as well, just up here. And just add a touch of it here and there, look, just to, again, help transition the colours throughout the painting, all right? So it's just not in one part of the painting. So I think that's good practice as well. And we have a couple of nice little wiggles coming down like that. Okay. And we have a couple of nice ones kind of sort of coming over here at a slight angle. You see that? And they kind of disappear off. And there's a nice big strong one here. Okay. So you can see now it's just about adding colours. Just adding darker and darker shades as you go. Let's get phaylo blue and magenta. A nice bluey shade. And let's just pop some of that in as well. I'm going to come down here with that. And you can see basically it's just lots of movement, isn't it? Lots of movement. Okay, let's stop there. I'm going to take some black with phaylo blue. And again, lots of magenta. Beautiful colour, this magenta, isn't it? Let's come down here and give this a nice dark bit of a punch here, look. There we go, just like that. And let's go in around some of the ridges in here. And that's just going to redefine the edge of that water was coming in, okay? It's just going to help redefine it. Nice dark just there. At this stage, I am going to go with a small pointy brush. Now, I hope you're following me along okay. I really do you are. I hope you are. I'm going to be putting lighter blues in here now as well, okay? So not to worry. We'll lighten this up nicely. I'm going to take some black and a little phthalo blue with magenta again, making a very watery blacky colour here. And I'm going to simply start creating a couple of these little wiggly lines coming out like that, okay? Now, it may take a couple of tries to get this right, because with the oils, you're working wet onto wet, so you know it's mixing with the colours underneath. Now, that you may find that quite difficult initially, but just keep going back into your colour, all right? Just keep going back in and back in and back in. Keep mixing up more if you have to. Don't be afraid, it's only paint, all right? That's all it is. It won't bite. If you make a mistake, just rub it out with some tissue or whatever and just go back in and go for it again. Just remember, you have to really give this, just go for it, have a bit of fun. That's what I would say is probably the most important part of this, in this painting, is to have some fun. Now, I'm going to get my small flat brush again, give it a good clean. I'm going to get some phthalo blue, and now I'm going to go into some white. Phthalo blue, white and magenta. See that nice light colour? Maybe even a bit more of the magenta. Now I'm going to start lightening ever so slightly. So I'm going to just bring the blues now, start transitioning those blues down into this area by simply just flicking them along here and there, giving them a little bit of a wiggle every now and then, and letting it just sort of dance around on the canvas. See what I mean? I'll put a few of those in here. Like that. And I'm going to start adding some bits of detail in just a moment now, okay? Just rough that up a little bit there. Look, just give it a little bit of roughness going through it. Now, I'll go to my smaller brush and I'm going to really now get some black, pure black on its own, and I'm going to start picking out some real dark sections in this, okay? So them really, really black lines that you can see. There's only a few here and there, okay? So I'm not going to go absolutely crazy with this, but there's a couple of really nice ones that I can see. Just going to pop those in. Again, some turpentine really helps. I'm going to go along the back of this one here. Okay, because you can see, especially in behind all of those, look, there's lots of lovely darks in here, isn't there? Couple behind this one here. Okay, you can see couple of nice, real dark ones coming over, kind of coming down at a slight angle, aren't they? And then I'm going to break this one up, just a little up here. Just letting my brush dance around a little bit, okay? Now this will all make sense when we start getting our really bright colours in. So don't worry, it's going to make perfect sense. Next thing I'm going to do is get some, let me get some pink. Get some pink, and I'm going to go along the top edges of some of these lines and just give them a little highlight, okay? So you see the way the light now is picking up some of these. And I'll come down onto this one now, like that. See, they really just kind of give it a lift, don't they? And that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to start adding some nice bright highlights into all of this. Let me get some phthalo blue into this white with some magenta. And let's actually take a bit of cadmium red. The red is just making it more soft, okay? It's kind of a slightly softer colour. And I'll start over here, look, I'm going to start over here and just give that a nice light over there. Bit more cadmium red. That's better. It's kind of a light, soft pink. Just getting these nice little highlights in, 1 or 2 around there. Starting to kind of make sense now, isn't it? Now we have a lot of light to put in, don't we? I'm going to do that now. First I'm just going to soften, very gently soften some of that back in. Okay. Then I'm going to go to my flat brush again. My lovely flat brush, make it nice and clean. And these lovely bright orangey colours. Let's get some cadmium yellow, some Naples yellow, and some crimson. Let's try that. Now this is much more on the reddy side, okay? It's much more reddy, kind of an orange. A soft pinky kind of an orange, okay? That's kind of what we're aiming for. So I'll start now with a slightly darker colour. Let's take more magenta in this. That pink magenta really helps. And then some crimson and some Naples yellow. Remember, nice and pinky. Let's start adding some pinks into this. Now you can see that's still a bit yellow, isn't it? Let's take a bit more crimson and some more Naples yellow. So we're going much pinker. You just want a nice soft pink hue for this. A kind of a salmony pinky colour. Okay, we're getting there now. This is starting to come together now, isn't it? Get some more crimson, a lot of crimson in this. Naples yellow, lots of crimson. and just adding hints of that colour here and there. Just little touches of it here and there, especially you can see where it's catching around here, look. Little flicks of that colour in there. Okay, crimson. And come down here and add some of that pink. Now let's sit back and take a look at this. Okay, it's not bad. I'm going to soften this ever so gently back into the colour underneath, okay? You see, just ever so gently. I just want to sort of take the edge off of some of these. Then I can go in with some really fine detailed work and just pop some little lights in here and there. Okay, you see, it really helps when you soften those colours back slightly. So I don't want very, very strong brush strokes in this. I'm going to now get some of the light pink and just really kind of pop some of that in here and there. Just to really suggest the light catching on top of some of those little waves and the crest of the waves coming over. Now you could spend a long time now doing lots of detail on this, okay? It's up to yourself, completely up to yourself. By all means, if you like to really go to town with detail, take your time and put lots in. But I prefer just to go for a nice little impression of a scene. Does that make sense? I just like to, you know, have a nice impression of a landscape rather than just going absolutely crazy with lots of detail. Okay, I get some of this bright orangey colour and I'm going to just really pop some of that in with my brush. You can see now I'm just kind of letting the brush sort of dance around on the canvas, okay? You could, by the way, you could actually use a palette knife for this as well if you really wanted to. And just sort of scrape it on. I still might. Depends on how we go. But let's just carry on like this for now. Okay. You see, it's not too bad now. It's coming together nicely. I'm going to put some darks in. I can see a couple of spots that need a lot of dark colour. I'm going to take some black and some blue and some crimson. I'm going to get some nice rich dark colour. And I'm just going to redefine some of those dark spots. Just bring them out that little bit and define them a little more, okay? Particularly around here. A lot of dark kind of coming in here, creeping into this one, isn't there? It really shows. And down here as well. There's a big chunk of black down here. Well, when I say black, it's very, very dark colour. So you can just continue doing this now, building up your colours adding more depth if you want, adding more darks, adding more lights. It's up to yourself. Okay? You can stop if you like and just call it finished. It would be absolutely fine. Or you could just keep going and, like me, probably end up making a total and utter mess of the whole thing. But I will leave it up to you. I'm going to now get some of that nice light pink and just start adding a few little highlights on some of those, creating a little bit of movement in the water up there. Okay, and I'll bring that colour up here as well. Go across here perhaps. Like so. And okay, I'll take more dark colour and I'm just going to define this a little bit more down here. I think that needs a bit more defining, and then I'm going to put a nice bright on top of that. Just like that, okay? And my friends, I will call this finished, because, you know, I could keep going on and on and on at this now, but there's a chance I could just end up making a mess of it. I'll add one or two little highlights, I think, to it, just to really brighten up some of those sunspots. A bit of yellow, a bit of crimson, some white. I think just to add a little something to it. You see, you can use your palette knife as well if you like. It just creates a lovely texture, the palette knife. Doesn't it? Creates a wonderful texture. Something about the palette knife I love sometimes, it really helps. I know we haven't copied the painting exactly, you know, we kind of made it our own, but that's good, that's what we want. And I call it finished. I am done, my friends. I need to sign this, because one thing I always say is a painting is not finished until it's signed, and only when it's signed will you then stop going at the painting and making a mess of it completely. That's what I think. When it's signed, you tend to kind of call it finished, don't you? Okay, I see another one or two little things that I want to mess around with. Darken that wave just slightly in there. So you can see now I'm kind of doodling, and I shouldn't be. Very, very bold, aren't I? I shouldn't be doing this. Okay, another little bit just in under here. I want to really darken that just to create a lovely contrast between the dark and lights. Okay, and I'm going to just go over here and bring one or two out just to help it come down into the water underneath. Okay, my friends, I suppose I better call this finished, because if I keep at this, I know for a fact I'm going to ruin it. So I think it's best I just quit while I'm ahead. Isn't that right? And there we are. Finished. I might just add one or two tiny highlights here and there, but I think in general I'm done. I'm pretty much finished. I hope you've enjoyed that, my friends. Thank you so much. I forgot to put a bird in, didn't I? So look, I have to put my bird in. It's not a Stephen Conway painting without a bird, is it? Up there, small bird. And there we are. I do hope you've enjoyed watching. I really do. Now, I can see something already I need to work on. Just one more small little thing that I need to do, okay? Bear with me. You see this nice blues we have? I want to bring some of those down here. I think it will balance the painting a little bit better. So I'm going to just bring a few light blues just here and there. And you see the way now that straight away, it just helps the painting transition from top to bottom nicely. Okay, I think that little bit now just helped. And we are done. Let me zoom in. And show you how we've gotten on. Isn't that lovely? Do try it, my friends. Let me see what you think. And I would be interested, let me see if I can turn this. I'd be interested to see how you can do something like this. I'd love your take, see what you come up with. All right, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you to my patrons for supporting me. I really sincerely appreciate it, okay? Thank you so much. That's it, I'm quite happy with that. I'll stick a frame on that now and see if somebody might be interested. All right. Remember, just keep it simple. You can stop at any stage if you feel you've done enough that you're happy with. Just stop. If you keep going and going and going, there's a chance you could kind of mess it up a little bit. And once you mess it up a little bit, it's very difficult to kind of go back without having to scrape it off with a palette knife or rub it off with some tissue. Do you understand what I mean? So trying to find that point where you're just happy enough to say, okay, I'm happy, and then put your brushes down. All right. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. I'll see you very soon, my friends, and again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned something. God bless and happy painting.